What is up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to rank the Stage 3 Team Affinity cards 30 to 1, letting you know the best ones to go for. And I want to make a few things clear first. Position matters here. I can't just judge the card on its own. The position depth in the market itself does have to play a role as to whether or not you want to invest your time here. I will also say off the top, these are all good cards. Even number 30, who a lot of you probably already know. Well, actually, no, I moved him up a couple spots. He's 28, but you'll know what I mean when I get there. They're all good cards, right? They got put in here. You can prestige them. There's no such thing as a bad card here. You may not play well with them or anything. They're all good, but we have to rank them, right? We have to make decisions. So some of these gaps will be bigger than others. Others are going to be clusters. Now, I didn't quite go so far as to say this is a cluster of 4 cards and they're all kind of the same, and then we go up to this group. But I'll try to mention that where I kind of feel the transition into another level of card. But let's go ahead and start with number 30. And I actually did go for Dante Bichette at 30 as opposed to a certain pitcher who, as I mentioned, is going to be in a couple of slots here. But Dante Bichette, the tough part about ranking him down here is I know he crushes. He's been in the game now for a while, and his cards always slap. And I could definitely see, you know, so I don't know if these cards are available in BR. I would imagine they are. I don't know why they wouldn't be. But I could see somebody being like, yo, I had a 12-0 and Dante Bichette just went off for me and stuff like that. We know that he can be very good. But look at that defense. It's really bad on the fielding and react. He's got a decent arm. He's even got a little bit of speed for a premium power hitter. It's just not enough to really situate himself as somebody that you should put in your corner. Now, as a bench bat, he's got it. And again, that's the thing with these cards all being good to some capacity. At the very least, they're bench bats as far as the hitters. And at the very least for the pitchers, there's somebody you could try out and see if you click with them, even if you don't outwardly love what they bring to the table. But that's Bichette at 30. Again, I love what he does hitting-wise. I could see maybe turning around. If you end up crushing with him, you prestige him. I move him up the list. But right now, I went 30 because A, outfield, super deep. B, bad defense. Number 29 is Don Mattingly. I'm sorry, Yankees fans. I'm sorry, Don Mattingly. I like Don Mattingly. I want to be good with him. I want to have useful Don Mattinglys. Maybe it's just me. I haven't been good with him. Now, he's been in the game 2 years. I think this is his second year. He was in the game last year. I never got going with any of his cards. The interesting thing is this is a hitter type I usually have some success with. Elite contact and vision and good enough power. Now, his prestige version will get both power sides up over 80, which is good. So if you do well with him, you're still going to be happy to have him out there because that power will make those perfects more likely to leave the yard. And little sneak tip here is he has great defense, and look at where he is with the secondary positions, left field and right field. So you could throw him into a corner. So honestly, as I'm looking at it right now, I hate to completely change something on the fly. I'm not going to move him. I'm not going to move him in ranking. I'm going to say, though, that between him and the next first baseman that I'm going to talk about, I maybe should have had him above that guy because of the left field, right field, which I actually did not notice until just now. I gotta be honest with y'all. I did not see that. And given that he has that, I think that makes him a little bit better than the other first baseman who's just a few spots ahead of him in his own division. So the reason that he's way down here, though, even with the left field, right field, is I just have never hit well with Mattingly, so I don't have that great feeling about him. Now, here's Cat Shit, who you guys are probably expecting me to put 30. Here's why I'm not putting him at 30. Because you never know with pitchers. And I know we kind of know with him because we've used... Well, no one uses him. That's the thing, though. Nobody uses him. So why do we know that he sucks? I don't understand. He's gotten this reputation. I mean, I call him Cat Shit. Like, that's what we call him on our on my stream in the chat, Cat Shit Hunter. So it's like we meme on him. We say he's terrible, but I don't know. I haven't ever used him. I don't even know if he's terrible. I just assume that he is. I mean, he doesn't have premium velo. You know, he's got a pretty basic arsenal with the main 5 pitches. You know, maybe if he had a sinker, it would work. His per nines are kind of uninspiring. He's got stamina, but you don't even want to use him for a long time. So it wouldn't matter if he had 80 stamina. He probably should have been 30. I just wanted to throw you guys off the scent a little bit. Anyway, next up, staying out west, we're going at number 27 to Juan Marichal. This is definitely, okay, I'll declare this a little bit of a level jump just because we just had a pitcher in Hunter, and with Marichal, I'm more inclined to want to use him. And I kind of pushed a couple of these pitchers down in favor of some hitters who are so good with their prestige that even though they play deep positions, like I've got 3 first basemen in a row coming up. Sorry, I keep looking over at my list if you're wondering why I'm angling over here. These pitchers could have been ahead of them. So I'm going to say from 27 here until about 22 is probably its own tier. But anyway, Marichal does have the brilliant stamina. He's very control focused, and I do like that. He's got nasty stuff while still having some good velo, though. He sits 94, which means he can touch 96, maybe 97. I think you can go 3 above your max when everything's charged and going perfectly for you. But it might be closer to 2 miles an hour with Marichal. I don't think I've ever seen him touch 97. But I mean, he's slider first too, which is always interesting to have an A pitch that isn't a fastball. But then you see that screwball, curveball, changeup. Look at, they're all in the 70s, including 71 on the changeup. That might actually be a little bit of a downside, though, and let me tell you why. It's his 5th pitch, so it's definitely his worst one. Even as a starter, even a starter that has 5 good pitches, even if they all rate well, the 5th one is still going to be the worst of the bunch. They are listed in order of quality. So we already know that some quality changeups have trouble hanging too often. What's going to happen when you float 71 in there and you miss your spot by a little bit, and instead they put it dead middle of the plate? That one's going out of the yard at 500 feet. So I had Marichal down here a little bit. I'm actually still going to go for him. I did some work on San Francisco in anticipation / hopes that it was going to be Will Clark. I'm still a good way away from Marichal, but I'm going to slowly work my way toward him. I do want to give him a shot. What was it? I forget which Diamond one. It was 2 years ago. Was a fan favorite for a while. He was being used around the community quite a bit. So he's had his runs of interest, and he maybe could have gone a little bit higher. But like I said, I do worry a little bit about, even with a control-focused card, he might not be hitting his spots as often as he should because of the inputs with pitching this year. Staying on the pitching track, we stay here in Baltimore and we look at Jim Palmer, who again, I actually kind of like. I liked the Sig Palmer last year, so I'm going to be inclined to give this one a go eventually. He has better splits as far as his velo than Marichal with the 95 mile an hour fastball all the way down to 72 from the curve. Again, be careful with that curve hanging it. That said, it is his 2nd best pitch, so you should have a much better time placing it and not leaving a fat curveball over the heart of the order, or over the heart of the plate, rather. Next up, this is one that pains me to put him at 25 because I love Robin Yount, but I'm trying to remember. He's been in the game now for a whole ass minute. I'm trying to remember a Robin Yount that the community, as a group, embraced. Is there just something wrong with his swing? It seems to be. Because again, as I mentioned with Don Mattingly, this is the kind of card type that I can flourish with, that I tend to like. And when 2 years ago when they changed the meta that these cards had capability, because it used to be just a power only game. Power still rules the day, don't get me wrong, as it does in real baseball. But a couple years ago, cards like this were unusable. Even the good ones like Tony Gwynn and whatnot. But they now are usable. For some reason, Yount never really gets involved in or included in that, and I don't know what it is. Again, as I've said about a few others, I'm definitely going to try him at some point. I love the contact, the vision, the clutch, which affects him with runners in scoring position. Great defense at shortstop or the outfield, including center, and a decent 71 speed, so he can cover some ground out there. He's not brilliant. I went from Byron Buxton to Eric Davis, so it's going to take a lot to replace somebody in center field with the defense, but I could throw him in left. I'll give him a shot, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope, and that's why he's 25th. Fred McGriff was the first baseman in division with Don Mattingly that I was talking about. Maybe I should have had Mattingly ahead of him just because of the outfield eligibility, but look at this offense from McGriff, and then imagine it prestiged all 4 categories, and by that I mean the 2 contact and the 2 power. All 4 of those are going to be over 100 once he's prestiged, and that's just devastating. lefty bat off the bench that even when they bring in a lefty reliever, you shouldn't have any trouble. I know personally, I'm not too afraid of lefty-lefty. Cody Bellinger and Larry Walker make that a lot easier to not be afraid of lefty-lefty. But Fred McGriff has that great helicopter swing. I love it. He's slept on because first base is super deep and people don't really go for McGriff's. But I think if you go for this one, you prestige it, he could even be your starting first baseman. At a certain point here, we're getting so many first basemen, which I understand people complain about that. First base is just a rich position. And we're trying to get the most fun cards in here, and people want to rake. You're going to have to put out a lot of first base. That's just always going to be something in this game. There's no two ways around it. So it's just going to have to be something that there is. But guys like Fred McGriff get put on the back burner behind prestige names like Frank Thomas and what have you. And I get that, but don't sleep on them. If you like McGriff, if you've done well with like Atlanta McGriffs in the past, get this card, prestige it, put him in your lineup and see what's up. Because I bet he'll smack. But I do have him down here at 24 just because of the glut of first basemen and how many there are. And I kind of had to rank him down here based on that. Same with this next guy. Jim Thome, new legend, by the way. A lot of us were kind of on this one. I felt like Jim Thome or maybe Manny Ramirez, but really Thome felt like the easy guess here. So I'm not even really backpatting. I do think that was kind of the stock guess for Cleveland once we learned that they were going to get a new legend here. Just utterly devastating against righties. Now, I haven't used his swing yet, so I don't know. And why did I give him the advantage over McGriff, even though his hitting isn't quite as good? Because he has third base as well. Now, his defense isn't that good over there, but if you're one of those players who doesn't mind hiding defense at some of the some different spots, like you shouldn't hide somebody defensively at short or second or center field, but at third base you can maybe get away with it. That's real. Your mileage will vary. It depends what you want. I like to favor defense, so that's not something that I'm necessarily willing to do, but he does have that capability, whereas somebody like Fred McGriff does not. Love the hitting, the discipline, the clutch. The vision's a little bit rough, and so it could be trouble in Hall of Fame and Legend. You're probably only using him as a bench bat anyway, though, so I don't know if that's going to become a major issue. And then the next one is in his division as well, and I revealed this guy for y'all here on this channel. Can't even say names. Paul Konerko. Amazing hitting. And I got to be honest, I said that this was probably the cutoff of a tier. This might actually be the start of a new tier. Even though McGriff, Thome, and Konerko are all first basemen, I don't know. For some reason, let me look at it. Is he any different than McGriff? He might not be that different. And then it's a preference between righties and lefties at that point. It's close, especially once you prestige. But we'll keep Konerko in. We'll say that this is still the same tier here. I'm just looking at all that heat there with the 4/100s. Now, when you prestige him, it's +3s, so you're not going to get the contact or power versus righty up to 100 for any of them. How crazy would that be, though? Because then he would have 6 100. Well, actually, with this one, he'd have 7 100s on his ledger. But he crushes, man. Defense, don't worry about it. It's at first base. Speed, same thing. It's going to be, again, it's going to be a card that's slept on because it's Paul Konerko and not Frank Thomas. But if you like him, if you like the White Sox, give him a shot. I bet he'll do well for you. All right, moving on to a little bit of a new tier here at 21 is Dwight Evans for the Red Sox. I'm really intrigued by this. I will be getting to work on Boston pretty soon because I want to get this card. Remember, he had a card come out via a 12-0 award and reward. I've never gotten 12-0 this year. In fact, I haven't really not done well at BR at all. I haven't played much because I haven't been doing well. So I didn't get that card because I didn't save up for it. This gives me an avenue to give Dwight Evans a shot. I liked Dwight Evans when I was younger. He kind of played in an era that I watched as a kid. I knew of him as an elite defender, which you can see portrayed on this card, and a solid hitter. He crushes against lefties, holds his own against righties, good vision, good discipline, some clutch, and you can throw him at first if you want, but don't waste that defense. And I say that as somebody who is wasting Al Kaline's defense at first base, but that's just because that's the only spot I had open. All my other defenders in the outfield were too good to move. Because it was, am I going to put Bellinger? It was between Bellinger and Kaline going to first. It's like, I kept Bellinger. Anyway, I like Dwight Evans. He's 21. Next up is another fish boy for the Angels, and it's Tim Salmon. This was another kind of stock, obvious guess. So I kind of felt like this was who it was going to be. There were a few other options, but Tim Salmon felt right, just as Jim Thome did. Devastating hitter. I mean, the only reason that he's not a little bit higher, or a good bit higher, is that the defense is challenged. And you see that there, that nothing in his defensive profile really stands out. So you're really hiding him out there, probably in left, although that's going to cost him a little bit of a penalty, make him even worse. But I think he's really a bench bat. Look at that, though. 4 100s in the main categories, contact and power, with 2 more in the discipline and clutch, and then the vision will go up a few points if you prestige him. I think something 86 or 89 if you prestige him, that's enough vision even for the higher levels. If he has a good swing, this card could become a favorite off the bench because you can handle him versus righties or lefties. It doesn't matter. Going up to number 19, this... yeah, this is the same tier here. I think the next couple are the same tier, and then we'll move up. Let's go over to Matt Williams here. Matt Williams had a SIG card. I think he was new last year, and he had the Signature Series, and it was a great card. The one thing I really liked about it, though, is it had shortstop, so it gave you kind of third or short if you wanted it, but that was with San Francisco. He didn't play shortstop for any discernible amount of time. I think he had like a handful of innings with the Diamondbacks, so you couldn't really get away with putting it on there. I understand that. Great hitter again, crushes lefties, holds his own against righties, good vision, good defense over at third. Not too much more you can ask for. Just a solid third baseman. Not over the top, but certainly capable. I think this next card is going to be slept on because I actually heard somebody say the phrase that Jay Buhner, that card sucks. And I said, what card are you looking at, dude? What card are you looking at? And if it wasn't for a little bit of my personal favoritism towards starting pitchers, because I love trying them out, this card would be 5-6 spots higher. We're at 18 here, and I'll let you know that 4 of our next 6 are starting pitchers. If maybe I wasn't as favorable to starting pitchers, I could see Buhner ranking even higher than 18. But the bottom line is, this is an amazing card. Look at that hitting. Now, the vision is a little bit of a challenge, and that's why he is a little bit lower. In the end, I did decide to bump him a little bit lower. I know for me personally, hitting is not my strength, so I struggle a little bit with some of these lower vision guys as you move up into Hall of Fame and beyond. I got back to Hall of Fame in seasons just yesterday, and it was jarring in that first game there, especially with a guy who we're going to talk about later leading off for me. But he's got brilliant power and arm, solid enough contact to help cover some of that vision deficiency. And then he's not just an arm guy either. It's not like a live series Yasiel Puig card of recent vintage where his arm would be way up and then the rest of the defense was kind of meh. The rest of the defense is good except for the reaction. That's a little bit low, but the field and accuracy are good. And I think you can put Jay Buhner in your outfield confidently. So if he was somebody that you clicked with last year, you're chomping at the bit to get this card prestiged and in your lineup. Next up is the first of those aforementioned 4 pitchers in a row, or not in a row, but out of our next 6. At number 17, we have AJ Burnett. And I'm really, really, really eager to try this card out. I liked the Signature Series AJ Burnett last year. I thought he was super slept on. I believe he was part of that mega pack that they just kept adding to of signature cards, and he was one of the base ones, so nobody really gave him any love, but he was good. I pitched a decent bit with him in the fall and winter, and I really enjoyed using him. He's got solid stamina, great per nines there with the hit and K. The BB9 is what brings him down a little bit, though. And I mentioned some of the troubles with pitching earlier this year and how difficult it can be. You add in a control issue, and it can make it a nightmare. That said, he throws remarkably fast with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball, 95-mile-an-hour sinker. That knuckle curve is awesome. Changeup and slider, though, as you get further down that list, I bet the control on those really starts to taper off. So be careful. One of the things that I think we do, and I started to hint at this when I was talking about Marichal, is we see a pitcher on a card. We see a pitch on a card, and we assume that that pitch will behave how it behaves on other cards. He has a slider. Well, a lot of my favorite pitchers have a slider. That'll be great. No, it's his 5th pitch, and it could be trash. one of the next steps that I think MLB could do is either have a tab or something. There's not a lot of empty space here that they could use in the top half of the card. So maybe it is tab worthy, and it would say repertoire. And then you go in and it would have the control and break and velocity. Well, the velocity is already there, but the control and break of every pitch. So that way you would know what you're getting into. Because my guess is that slider sucks and that you don't really want to use it. That's a show me pitch, which means you throw it every once in a while just to keep them honest so that they know that you will throw it, but that you're not going to lean on it. So keep that in mind as you're using these cards, that the 4th and 5th pitches are 4th and 5th for a reason. Going to number 16, going to be very similar here. It's Kerry Wood. A lot of similar factors. Devastating K rate, blistering velocity. I will say, where's the outlier? And then the Prestige doesn't even have outlier. That one surprised me a good bit. I'm not gonna lie. In fact, I meant to ask SDS about that just to see what they were thinking about that. If they had something planned with a different Kerry Wood coming out with it, or what, because he seems ripe to have outlier. But look at that K rate, hits per 9, same sort of control issues though. So be careful with those, with the changeup and cutter. But the 4-seam and slurves are so gross, and that's kind of what gave him the little bit of an edge over Burnett and why I ranked him 16 and Burnett 17. Now this is definitely because first base is deep. I have Bagwell at 15 because in a vacuum, this card is silly good. Look at that hitting. And the fielding's pretty good at first base. 81-71 on the fielding and react. Who cares what his arm is? He's at first base. And he's got a little bit of speed for a first baseman, a 61 speed. Look at that hitting. My God. He's got the 4 100s, maxed out discipline. You're going to be pushing the righty numbers with the Prestige. It's gross. So why did I rank him so low? Well, again, the depth of first base is absolutely part of the reason. And he just kind of wound up here because I only have one other first baseman the rest of the way. So that did hurt. That did hurt Bagwell a little bit. And when you see the other first baseman, why he's ranked where he is, I think you'll understand because he has 2 factors that really push him above Bagwell. I think this card will be awesome. And I think he can be a starting first baseman for anybody. If you're a big Houston fan, then he's he could be number 1 on your list. I'd have no problem with that. Again, we're trying to make decisions here, and a lot of it, my favoritism gets played into it. Somebody else's list can be different because their favoritism or what they do well with gets played into it. These lists are for, they're not definitive, right? Because there's no definitive way to prove it because we all play differently with different cards. It's a lot of fun to say your piece and explain why you think cards should rank somewhere, but by no means do I think, hey, this is the answer. Don't you dare disagree with it. Sticking in Texas, we move to number 14, and then we've got Michael Young, another SIG card, another new player from last year that I really liked. And I never got to have that card. Now, I did go 12-0 last year, multiple times, but I don't remember who I picked because I did not pick Michael Young. So I never ended up with that card, but I used it a bunch in BR and loved him. Now we have an opportunity to work your way toward a premium Michael Young, who's at a 97 rating. Great contact, strong vision, great defense, can play all 4 spots, so you can find somewhere for him. If you really like to use Michael Young cards, with 4 positions at the ready, it shouldn't be hard to find a spot for him. And you should probably maximize him by playing him at one of the second, third, or short, because first base, he might be a little bit wasted there, especially when you want to get some of those big power guys over at first base. But not a lot else to say. Just positional flexibility, high contact, strong vision, solid card. Now, at number 13, this is one of the ones that the ranking before using everybody versus after, he could have the biggest drop because I'm hearing bad things about John Smoltz. And it bums me out. I'm hearing remarkably bad things, in fact. So why'd you still rank him 13, Paul? Because I haven't used him, okay? How about that? Because I haven't used him, and maybe I'll be good with him. Maybe I'm the one. I'm the chosen one. I get to be good with him. I don't know. I do still want to try him. He does look very appealing to me. I am going to get Atlanta done. They're high on my list. There's a couple other guys that we're going to get to here who have taken priority. But then I think after him, he's either third or fourth on my list because I'm going to give it a shot. You know what? He might suck. And if he does, I'll say, hey, he shouldn't be 13. He should be 23 or something like that. But as it stands right now, I'm intrigued by, I love the stamina, so you can go deep into games. The per nines are perfectly fine. The unique 5-pitch mix with the splitty, I love splitters. Although I won't call it unique, because it's really not in terms of the fact that the splitter and the changeup, they're 6 miles apart. That's not so bad then. I was going to say it's kind of 2 changeups, but if they're 6 miles apart, maybe that can keep some folks off balance. I like the 97 velo. I like that the slider's his second best pitch. I hope he doesn't suck. I really hope he doesn't, but I am nervous. Next up, sneak tip. Another new legend. Al Leiter has been drawing rave reviews. And then I saw him on a stream, and I understood where some of those reviews came from. The pitch mix is a big driving factor here as to why he's 12th. He's also a lefty, which is nice. He's sinker first. You love that. Great hit in K9, both over 100. Stamina is nice too. All these guys got great stamina, so I guess I don't really need to keep mentioning that. But I really like the arsenal here and how it interplays with one another. You go sinker, cutter, curve as the top 3. You got a show me slider, and even a 94-mile-an-hour four-seamer that you can blaze in there every once in a while. You start lulling them to sleep with these sinkers and cutters, and then you just gas 94 up at the top of the zone right by them. They'll never be looking for it if you use it sparingly. So Al Leiter checks in at number 12, and I'm eager to get a shot with him. Now, he wasn't one of the ones that's going to be ahead of Smoltz as far as me getting, because I only have 2% done. So it's going to be a while until I get to use Leiter, unless I buy him off the market. These are all buyable. So that's one thing. I don't have to just look at my percentage and say, well, I can't try him until I'm done. I'm going to end up buying some of them. The one thing is, I will say, just as a little tangent, don't just buy all of them, though, because then when stage 4 comes along, if those aren't sellable, then you have to do all the work anyway. So, for example, I bought Oral Hershiser. No, actually, I'll get to that in a minute because I don't want to say where he ranks or anything. But I bought him knowing that I'm still going to get him, and I'm paying a premium because by the time I get LA done, he's going to be cheaper. I didn't care though. I wanted to get him in the rotation and start using him off rip. But I'm still going to be ready for stage 4 because the stage 4 Dodgers are going to be good because they have so many good players. Anyway, tangent over. Moving on to number 11, Tom Henke, another new legend. Now, he was guessed by some folks, but there were a bevy of names. So don't all you out there being like, oh, I said Henke. I didn't. Yeah, you said 15 different Blue Jays. There were a few people out there who were saying Tom Henke, but there was like a lot of Vernon Wells. I was kind of on the Alex Rios train because I used to be obsessed with that White Sox Alex Rios from a few years ago. I thought Henke was a possibility. Dwayne Ward, another closer. There were a lot of ways they could have gone. They went here with Henke, and he's been a surprise for folks, a pleasant surprise. I've been seeing him used in the community already. The hit and K9 are off the charts. He throws really hard with the 99-mile-per-hour fastball. One factor I've been hearing repeatedly from multiple people is they wish the forkball was a bit slower to kind of dial down from that 99 velo, have the forkball fall off the table a little bit more, and maybe more of like an 88, 89 velo. So I have heard that from others. I think even I want to say it was Yayo Gaming who I heard mention it first, and then a few others echoed that same sentiment. So I want to give him credit. That's not a unique thought to me. I have not used the card, so I want to give credit where I heard that, and it makes sense. It makes sense. But this looks like a solid reliever. We always need new relievers because whenever somebody becomes like the flavor of the month, everyone uses him, and then they start to get figured out. So you got to always be bringing new pitchers in out of the bullpen and in the starting rotation, to be honest, too. That's why I think an Al Leiter as a new guy can jump on some people and be tough to face. But I'm interested in this. I do wonder, let me go look. I don't think so, or else somebody would have mentioned it. But I do wonder if his prestige has... ranked season. I'm going to go play seasons game in the middle of the video. I wonder if his prestige has outlier. I don't think it does because, like I said, none of them... I haven't heard anybody mention that they do. But it should, right? I mean, if you're just saying prestige is like a better iteration of these cards, then why not throw outlier on Henke and Kerry Wood, and did Burnett have a 99? Maybe not for Burnett, but either way, not the end of the world, but just something that would be cool if he had it. So Tom Henke checks in at 11. I think I'll be buying him off the market, although, and I have an idea as to why. He's been one of the more expensive ones, and the reason to me, it's not so much that I think he's just this awesome over the top card. I think he's good, and he is drawing good reviews, but he's the second most expensive, and I think it's because nobody really liked the Team Affinity for Toronto, even the Vlad. So folks didn't even like stage 1, and then they saw this stage 2 Kevin Smith come out. Sorry to Kevin Smith and his family. I'm not trying to be nasty. It's just not a great card for the game. People decided, I'm not going to do Toronto. So then when this card comes out that people actually want, not many people were ready to get him right away. So I think rareness is driving his price up even more than quality of card as people work to get Toronto done and get to the Tom Henke. That's my speculation, at least. Moving to number 10, here we go, top 10. The bane of my existence a few years ago. If you had him in your lineup, you were getting 3 hits. It doesn't matter if it was your first time ever playing, or if you had no idea how to play, or if you used the controller upside down, or if you used your nose to play. It did not fucking matter. Lou Brock destroyed my existence, and I hope that doesn't happen again, but I'm very scared of it. And it was the best thing too. The best card type that you can get. The one that absolutely destroys you that you're not good with. That's what happened to me a few years ago when Lou Brock was terrorizing the entire community, but me specifically. I think people hit 894 against me with him. I don't know how they ever made it out. It would be a line drive that just happened to be right at the third baseman or the outfielder or something. Anyway, we know the deal with Lou Brock. Crazy speed, insane contact. The speed can make up for the defense, not for the arm. You can't do anything about that. But as far as like the field and react, the fact that he's 99 speed, you're chasing anything down. And if you put him in left, so you're not even asking that much of him, all the better. But we all know what this card can do. And if you play against somebody who looks like they're, inclined to bunt, be careful because they might lay one down with him. And as I said in a previous video, deal with it. Don't cry about bunters. And I don't say that as a bunter. I hate bunting. I never do it. But it's allowed. It's not cheese if someone does. I'm not going to do the same rant again. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Number 9, George Brett. I love. Now, this is the opposite of Lou Brock. George Brett cards. I love George Brett cards. Any George Brett card that's been out there over the years, I've pretty much done well with. So I'm very much interested in him. And he probably got boosted a handful of spots just based on my personal experience with him. But I love the fact that he's got the elite contact and vision. I've been raving all episode here about how I do well with this player type. But he's got the double 80 in power. For those who don't know what I'm talking about there, when they're over 80 in power, that means their perfects have a better shot to leave the yard. Now, it was originally said on stream that when you get perfect with somebody over 80 power, that it would automatically be a homer. That was a misspoken line by, I think it was Ramon, that they've since said, misspeak, accident, apologies. It's not that it's an automatic homer, but it's that it has a much better chance to be a homer or an extra base hit of some sort. Whereas that threshold below 70 makes it more likely to be caught or just fall in for a single on a perfect. So he already has the 80 thresholds without prestige. Prestige it up, it'll be even better, obviously. And he'll get that contact against righties up to 125. He's got great defense for third base. You can put him at first, but again, he's got the great defense, so don't waste it. And a little bit of speed, which you don't normally expect from a third/first baseman type. Number 8, our final first baseman, as you may have guessed based on the fact that, oh, is it the flash sale on? Hang on, y'all. Interval here, a little bit of just to see, because there's 57 minutes left. Should I do it? Oh wait, what are the items in here? I'm guaranteed to get one of these. Oh, I don't even have enough stubs because I did a pack and play video that's coming up soon. Never mind. I can't even do it. Oh, damn. That means Rob Dibble's going to come way down in price, though. I'd probably get the low end anyway. I want that Dylan Carlson. You know what? He's going to come down in price. That's going to be great. But that's a flash sale for an hour. They're doing flash sales all night. They might be done by the time I post this. I'm going to be posting it today, meaning the second, but it still might be done by that time. Well, what am I looking for? I just want to see something. Sorry for the interlude here. Oh yeah, I can afford that. And it'll go down further. Okay, great. Anyway, back to the list. Number 8, our last first baseman. It is the Harmon Killebrew. Killer. He's a beast. And again, I mentioned that there'll be a couple discerning factors as to why he's above Bagwell. Two major things. First off, look at the power. When you prestige him, I read that, I said headline. When you headline him, when you prestige him, he's almost going to have 125 power. It's going to be 124, 125. That's disgusting. Maxed out power for a player type that's always done well. When I say always, they could make a bronze Harmon Killebrew that I think would absolutely dominate. So I love this card. He's got great contact, great vision. Everything's there. Now, the defense is a little bit light for third base, especially, or even the left field there, because he has just a 39 speed. So you probably put him at first, but to have the third and left capability is nice, because those are two spots where you can hide somebody. Third base, you don't want to put an inept fielder there, but you can put a little bit of a lesser fielder there. And in left field, same deal. So I might be inclined to do that if there's another first baseman that I have to get onto my into my lineup, whereas Bagwell can't do that. He blocks off first base. So Bagwell might be comparable as far as hitter type. He just doesn't have those two extra positions. So that's why Killebrew got to be 7 spots higher than Bagwell, in case you were wondering. It's the 2 extra spots and the fact that he's going to be 124, 125 with his power. I love Harmon Killebrew. And if you haven't used a Harmon Killebrew card ever, get on it. Just go get the gold. Go get the gold. Use him. You'll be so interested that you'll want to get the face of the franchise immediately. Number 7, my boy. My first, besides Kaline, this is my second one that I picked up. Eric Davis. Love him. Just loved Eric Davis as a kid. Just such a complete all-around superstar player. Absolutely adore his game. The only downside here, the only downside is the vision. And it does create a little bit of a small PCI in Hall of Fame. I told you yesterday, I mentioned that how yesterday I played my first Hall of Fame game of the season, and it was a bit jarring seeing his PCI at the top of the lineup. It was small. The thing of it is, though, you can still get hits with a small PCI. It's just harder, right? It just takes a little bit more focus, and you really got to hit your spots. I'm not going to stop using him, though. He's off to a little bit of a slow start after getting 2 hits in his first game, but he's going to get the requisite 100 plate appearances before I make a decision. And then if it doesn't work out, we'll go back to Byron Buxton, who was doing amazingly. In fact, I can show it to you from the face of the franchise here. You're probably going to wonder why I even took him out. In fact, he was wondering it, but he was respectful. He came into my office. He said, "Yo, why'd you take me out? I'm amazing." And I said, "It's for Eric Davis." He said, "I respect a legend." And he said, "Okay, I'll go on the bench." And I appreciated it. But if Davis doesn't cut it, Buxton's going right back in. But anyway, I got Davis 7th. Love Eric Davis. If you're good at placing your PCI, which I'm not even amazing at, but I love what he does otherwise with the defense and the power and the speed. And here's the thing for me. When the defense is that good in a premium position like short, second, center, or catcher up the middle, then you don't need the offense to be as good. Now, you need it to be better than a 494 OPS, but you don't need it to be top of the scale. So for me, I've always said that as long as Buxton's OPS starts with an 8, then he's going to stay in my lineup. And the same thing is going to be the case for Davis. Now, until you get to 100 plate appearances, you really can't make a good indication of how well you hit with a card. Even at 100, it's still a little bit of a small sample, but you start to understand more. And so that's why he's going to get 100, and then we'll go from there. And hopefully he improves. Because a lot of his works, hopefully I stay doing well and I stay in Hall of Fame, in which case a lot of his upcoming work is going to be on the Hall of Fame landscape. And so he's not going to be able to pick on the all-star caliber anymore. Number 6, who does not have a vision problem at all, it is Mr. Tony Gwynn. And we know the ropes here. Tony Gwynn's been in the game for a whole last minute. We know exactly what we're getting here. Brilliant contact, brilliant vision, speed and defense. It's all there. If you've hit well with Gwynn before, you know what to do. Go get this card. It's going to be great. If I was doing a ranking top to bottom of my best cards last year, his signature series is definitely in my top 10, probably in my top 5, and possibly my best overall hitter when you compare the performance with volume, because I used him for over 800 plate appearances, and that matters, right? He went through all the ups and downs of my hitting streaks, and so you have to count that in. Even though somebody might have a higher OPS, if they just did it for 120 plate appearances and he's 60 points behind them, but for 800 plate appearances, that tells you that he was the stalwart in my lineup for a very long time. So I have Gwynn number 6. Now the top 5. At number 5 is Mr. Tiger, Al Kaline. Now, I don't think I'm being hometown biased here. I do love the Tigers. That's my club. But this Kaline slaps. And I love that he has everything that you need. The brilliant contact and vision, which is his hallmark. Defense, another hallmark of his. But the power at 87.95 absolutely plays. So you don't have to worry about him being a slap hitter. He can go yard with not, I want to say with the best of them, but he can go yard regularly enough to be a major middle of the order threat. Speed's a little bit light for center field, but you can put him on a corner. Like I said, I put him at first because in comparison to Player of the Month Buxton or Player of the Month Bellinger, I felt that Kaline was worth putting at first and Bellinger was worth keeping in the outfield. As you can see, my offense with him so far has been good. At a 917 OPS, couple of homers, couple of doubles. You love to see it. 4 of his 7 hits have gone for extra bases. Very happy with Kaline joining the team. Number 4. This gentleman would be in contention for that number 1 overall spot with Tony Gwynn last year. Now, you'd have to combine both. You'd have to combine his first diamond with his signature series. But Jason Kendall was a god for me last year. Like, it was silly. Even people who did well with him would come into streams, see my numbers, and be like, holy shit, I thought I did well with Kendall. You're insane with him. It was just one of those cards that clicked with me. I did so much damage with him to the point that when many better 90-something catchers had come out, I was still using the 87 just waiting for the SIG to come out because he was that much better. It didn't matter. We know what we're getting here with this backstop. Great vision and contact. I'll say it one more time. Last time I'm going to say it because there's only 3 cards after this. I do well with this player type. The high vision, high contact slapper guy, I do well with. Solid enough defense behind the dish. It's not great. A 70 arm. You're not throwing everybody out. But if you hit your meter well enough, you should still get some throwouts. People shouldn't run too rampantly on you. There's not a ton of base stealing anyway. You run into a guy every once in a while who loves to wreak havoc on the bases. And maybe in that game, Kendall will let you down a little bit. But hopefully he goes 3 for 4 to make up for it. And he's got speed at catcher, which is an absolute rarity. I love Kendall. He'll be the next one I get. And if you watch my stream on Friday, the 3rd, you will see Jason Kendall debut because I will have him by then. Next up is Andre Dawson. Similar to Gwynn, we've been around the block with him many a time as far as knowing exactly what we're getting here, and what we're getting is a true all-around superstar. He's basically the Eric Davis supercharged, like already uber prestiged, plus you can prestige it higher. Brilliant offense, brilliant defense, excellent speed. What isn't there to like? I'm not going to belabor the point and say too much more about him and use y'all's time because I don't need to. He's excellent. He should be in your lineup. He can crack everybody's lineup. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to put him in because you might have 3 outfielders you like. But you can't tell me that you don't have room for him. I don't believe you. He's one of the best outfielders in the entire game. He had a case for number 1, and which means he also had a case for number 2. And the only reason that I put this other guy number 2 is because he plays a little bit of a rarer position, and that's Mike Schmidt at 3rd base. And he has first base too, but who cares? You're putting him at 3rd. Now, at first blush, it's like, is this really a number 2 card? Because the offense for Dawson is better. The reason I still put him here without using him is because Mike Schmidt cards have this aura. They play above their numbers, man. I'm telling you. That's always been the case for me, at least. So even though if you're just doing a stats ranking, he would probably be closer to between 6 and 10. But I ended up putting him 2nd as kind of a stamp of approval of how good his cards have been in the past, that I think they're going to be that good again. Plus the brilliant defense at 3rd. So that's where I'm at with Mike Schmidt. Plus, when you prestige him, get that contact versus right and vision up a little bit more. I understand if you want to debate a little bit, but I can't really get him lower than the absolute lowest I can go would be 6. Below Dawson, Kendall, Kaline, and Gwynn. But beyond that, I think he's got to be at least 6. I went with 2 based on the fact that Mike Schmidt cards have both dominated my life, but I've also dominated with them. So that's all right. As long as, if I'm getting my clock cleaned by a card, I want to at least have success with them, and that is the case for me with Schmidt. So I already hinted at this number 1. It's an obvious one to me. I think he's easily the number 1 guy. It's Orel Hershiser. He's an absolute stud. I had to go get him night 1. He's probably much cheaper than I paid for him already. I paid 41. Let's go see what he is. Let's look at it together. Let's go see that he's at like 22 and I'm an idiot. Actually, I don't think he's anywhere near that cheap. I think he's actually held his price pretty closely. But I had to get him off rip. Yeah. See, right around where I paid. I would lose tax if I sold him back, but I'm not going to. I'm going to finish the Dodgers Affinity and then sell him for whatever price he is at that point. But I don't care. I had to have him immediately because he is that good. If Gwynn had a case for my best hitter last year, then the was it postseason? The postseason Orel Hershiser had a case for being my best pitcher. Just so consistently strong. Even his bad outings, I would get like 7 innings out of him because he'd give up like a few runs in the first. Say you give up like 3 in the first, then I'd throw 6 more innings and he'd maybe give up another run or 2. He almost never got absolutely obliterated. I don't know why I'm not on his stats. I'm sorry. He almost never got crushed. And I loved pitching with him. And he's a community favorite. Everyone loves him from the top of the, pitching rebel, Kyle, Gunsky, et cetera, all the way down to scrubs like myself. Everybody loves Orel Hershiser. He's an absolute monster. Filthy arsenal. Sinker as his number 1 pitch. The sinker cutter. Remember I mentioned that combo with Al Leiter. That's a great combo, and it's as a 1-2 punch. Al Leiter has it from the left. Orel Hershiser has it from the right. And who doesn't love Orel, right? I mean, come on. The per-9s are fantastic. Stamina, the clutch. This is why he never gets his clock clean, too. For pitching clutch, they get better with runners in scoring position, which is second and third base for those that don't know. So you're not getting rattled as much when you give up a couple hits and now all of a sudden you got traffic on the bases. Whereas some guys get worse and they start hanging meatballs all over the place. Hershiser dials in with that 125 clutch and it's a GG for your opponent as opposed to a GG for you. I have used him a couple times already, and as you can see, he's lived up to the hype. Hopefully he can make his debut on stream tonight in Hall of Fame, and I'm going to make a video on that. I was going to make it on his debut, but I wanted to do it in Hall of Fame to really get a taste of where he's at the higher level against better competition. No offense to the folks that I played in these 2 games here. In fact, the second guy was pretty good. He worked some heavy counts. He just couldn't get going against Hershiser. The first guy was a little bit of a rollover. I kind of dominated him. But as you can see, the numbers are great. Even without a blazing fastball, it doesn't matter. Orel Hershiser is elite. And per usual, Orel is number 1. So just giving you 1 to 30 one more time. We got Orel Hershiser, Mike Schmidt, Andre Dawson, Jason Kendall, Al Kaline, Tony Gwynn, Eric Davis, Harmon Killebrew, George Brett, Lou Brock at 10, Tom Henke, Al Leiter, John Smoltz, Michael Young, Jeff Bagwell, Kerry Wood, AJ Burnett, Jay Buhner, Matt Williams, Tim Salmon at 20, Dwight Evans, Paul Konerko, Jim Thome, Fred McGriff, Robin Yount, Jim Palmer, Juan Marichal, Catfish Hunter, Don Mattingly, and Dante Bichette at 30. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know the ones that you do well with. Where do you have your big disputes with me? Guys that you do way better with than I have them ranked. I'm open to hearing it. Like I said, a lot of this is personal and how you do with cards. Don't take offense if I put somebody really low that you love. That's okay because I have guys high that you guys might have low that I love. So it's all about doing well with who you crush with. And don't forget to prestige these cards up because they can get even better. Good luck.